I just want to trip over a pile of hay and find that one car that makes you a millionaire. Sounds like a joke, right? Guess what? It's not. People who went into dusty barns tripped there and came out with freaking treasures on wheels. We're talking about 12 insane car barn finds that will make your wallet scream, holy shit. Hit that subscribe button and grab your seat, cause you're about to get hit with some dollars. Oh man, let's get this off with the 1961 Ferrari 250 GT SWB California Spider. Now, when I hear Ferrari, I think sleek, shine red, right? Well, this one was about as shiny as an old rust bucket. Found in a freaking barn in France, buried under some dusty ass junk, someone drove past this beauty and thought, nah, not worth it. Like, how do you sleep after that? Now, this is no ordinary baby Ferrari. Oh no, this is a freaking California Spider. That's some sex right there on steroids. Only 55 were made, and this fellow was hiding in some hay and old tools, like it was playing hide and seek. Anyway, someone dusted it off, sent it to auction, and hit a cool $18 million at a sale. Not bad for something that used to sit next to the farm equipment, huh? This one is next. Go 1966 Shelby Cobra 427. Talk about power. This is the beast that would blow your damn socks off. But it didn't blow off anyone's socks for a while, because it just sat collecting dust in some forgotten garage. This guy just forgets about a Shelby Cobra. Really? This car is the kind of automobile that leaves other automobiles to cover their face. It has over 400 horsepower, is one of the fastest things on four wheels. Yet somehow, this legend was left to rust. I'm talking dust, cobwebs, the whole work. When someone finally cracked open that garage, I reckon they thought that they would have a gold mine. The thing went for an auction of $5.94 million. Yep, nearly $6 million just sitting there like an old couch someone forgot to take to Goodwill. Alright, now the 1954 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing. So this car is straight up iconic, with those Gullwing's doors that flip up like a bird taking off and on, but this beauty was flying nowhere when it was found. Nope, packed under some random crap in the garage waiting for someone with half a brain to find it. Now, you have a car that's worth $1.5 million and just sits under some beat up junk like it's forgotten furniture. I mean, how do people forget they own something this iconic? I just don't get it. Probably the dude who found it was looking and saying, I'm on candid camera or something. But nope, this was the good stuff. That car got cleaned up, polished, and went on to fetch a tidy sum at an auction. And when those doors flew open at the sale, you could probably hear wallets opening from across the room. Okay, so you want American muscle? Fine, well, if that's the case, then look no further than the '69 Dodge Charger Daytona. Now, that's the kind of car that just seems to exude don't mess with me energy. And this particular Charger had quietly been resting in some barn somewhere, like a forgotten relic. It was the first car to enter NASCAR at 200 miles per hour, and someone thought it was just a good enough idea to leave it to rot in a barn. Shoot, finally when it was pulled out, you could bet your bottom dollar that it gets all the attention it deserves. The child sold for $1.3 million, and honestly, I believe it could have gone for more. I mean, it is a piece of American racing history. If I found one of these in a barn, you wouldn't be able to peel me off of the ceiling from excitement. Okay, so let's talk about the 1937 Bugatti Type 57S Atlante, which sounds fancy as hell, right? And it is. I mean, this car is straight up art on wheels. But do you believe me if I told you that this beauty had been locked up in some beat up old garage for years? Yeah, nobody knew what that thing was. Under a tarp, getting dust like an old shoe hanging in the closet? Can you imagine forgetting a car worth $9 million? I can't. And so it happens. The owner had bought it ages ago, probably thinking he was living the best life ever in his luxury car, and then just left it to rot. And when someone finally stepped on it, they found themselves the winner of the golden ticket. Willy Wonka jackpot, but instead of chocolate, it's a Bugatti. And let's be honest, that's just a better thing. I mean, to be clear, the thing fetched millions at an auction, and the person who discovered it must have pinched himself 100 times to think it was real. So yeah, let's just casually stash a car worth $9 million under a tarp, like it's no big deal. Okay, next comes the 1974 Lamborghini Countach LP 400 Periscopio. Now, if you know anything about supercars, you know that the Countach is the car. Like, this thing was every car nerd's wet dream back in the day, and it still is. But guess what? Someone actually left this baby to rot. Left it to rot. Like, who does that? This Countach wasn't sitting pretty in a showroom somewhere. No, it was rotting in a garage, choked with dust, probably next to a lawnmower that hadn't seen the light of the day since the Reagan administration. But the thing is, this car, in mint condition, is worth $1.5 million. And even in its dusty, neglected state, it still fetched some serious cash. Me? I mean, you imagine going by this thing and seeing that you've won the auto lottery. I mean, if I had one, I'd probably would have fainted right there. The Countach is an icon. It's the poster car that every kid had on their wall in the 80s. So when someone unearthed this rotting beauty, they didn't just stumble upon a car. They found a freaking piece of history, and of course, a massive payday. Now hold on to your hats for this one, the 1970 Plymouth Hemi Convertible. It is a car so rare that finding this kind of unicorn, sporting sunglasses and sipping a pina colada has been described. Like seriously, they only made 14 of those bad boys, and someone just found one chilling in a barn like it's no big deal. And by found, I mean sitting there for years collecting dust, waiting for someone to get a clue that they were essentially sitting on a gold mine. This is certainly one of the finest muscle cars ever created, and naturally with its powerful Hemi V8 engine, and besides that rather attractive convertible top to boot. They were probably putting it out of the barn, and people weren't even sure what it was. But of course, when they brought it to the auction, it sold for a jaw-dropping $3.5 million. Yes, $3.5 million for a car sitting there like an old couch. I mean, the fellow who discovers it, I suppose he's saying, "Oh boy, what is this old thing? Oh, wait, it's only one of the rarest cars in the world? No biggie." Pure American muscle, the Plymouth Hemi Cuda. Finding one of those in a barn is like striking gold, except it's way more cool because it's got wheels. Now, this is a chef's kiss beauty. How it looks all sleek and sexy in every line of the Ferrari shape that you just want to sell your soul just to take her out for a ride. But guess what? It was an abandoned Ferrari 365 GTB Ford Daytona that was left sitting in a barn, cowering like a forlorn little pup waiting for someone to love her. And holy shit did it get the love it needed when it was finally pulled out. This Daytona is worth $2 million easy, but when it was found, it didn't look like $1 million, not even. It was covered in dust and probably had a couple of spiders squatting in it, but underneath all that grime, a freaking masterpiece. Once cleaned up and returned to some semblance of its former glory, the car sold at the auction for a cool couple million, making the finder of this car quite a lot richer in the deal. A Ferrari Daytona found in the barn is like finding a diamond in the rough, only that this diamond has a V12 engine and makes you look bossy. Yeah, if an old barn comes in your way, break in. It might contain a $1 million Ferrari that could get you rich in a jiffy. Alright, so here's the deal. The 1964 Shelby Cobra Daytona Coupe. This is a legendary car. Like only 6 were ever made. 6? You think that people would look out for this beauty, right? Nah, just someone decided to let it sit in a dusty old garage for years. Like, oh, it's one of the rarest cars on the planet, so not a big deal. Like, what in tarnation? It was built to go fast, to give high performance on those speed tracks, forgotten inside a garage like an old pair of sneakers. But when finally pulled out of its long-ass nap, they basically struck gold. We're talking $7.25 million worth of gold. Yup, that's what it sold for at auction. This thing went from garage ornament to freaking millionaire maker overnight. I mean, you must see the face of the person who found it. Probably went from, what is this old thing, to, holy shit, I'm rich. And honestly, that's the dream, isn't it? Next is the 1962 Aston Martin DB GT Zagato. And if James Bond were a car, this is the one that he'd be. Sleek, sexy, and ready to drop jaws. And even Bond's fantasy ride wasn't exempt from abandonment, or rather, to sit in some Bond somewhere to die. Seriously, what individual or individuals are actually walking by this gorgeous piece of art and saying, oh well, I'll just park it for a couple of decades, no problem. Okay, so here's the kicker. This auto is so unique that only 19 were ever made. It was covered in barn dust and looked like it hadn't seen the daylight of day since the 60s. But when it finally emerged, this bad boy didn't disappoint. It went straight into an auction and the nice sum of $14.3 million was gotten. Yep, this bar find had turned out to be a freaking cash cow. From dusty barn floors to shining under auction lights, this car came back swinging and it made someone stupidly rich in the process. I mean, talk about a glow up. Well now, I know when you think of Toyota, you're probably not thinking of $1 million cars, right? You see Camrys and Corollas. You don't see something worth a small fortune. Well, buckle up because the 1967 Toyota 2000 GT is going to blow your mind. This car is not just rare, it's one of the most expensive cars Toyota has ever made. And guess what? One was found just sitting around like some old forgotten beater. So here's the whole story. Only 351 of these little beauties were made, and someone owned one that was just kinda sitting around like it was no big deal. I mean, the car would cost $1.2 million, for real, and it was just sitting there like a Toyota Camry or something like that. When it was finally pulled out to be auctioned off, people were in shock at the price. And the price, oh boy, this thing sold for big money. I mean, imagine you're going to tell someone that you drive a Toyota, then watch as their face contorts when you drop the $1 million bombshell. This ain't your grandma's Corolla, people. And now let's wrap this all up with this beast that is the 1971 Lamborghini Miara SV. If cars were rock stars, then no doubt this would be the Mick Jagger. It's the supercar that brought the name Lamborghini into the mouths of every patrol head around, and someone just left it for years. I mean, who are these people? Leaving a freaking Miara in a barn is like leaving a diamond ring in a sock drawer. Like, what are you doing? But this Miara SV wasn't like all Lambo-less. Among others, this is one of the fastest of its time, pushing over 380 horsepower. And of course, it's worth some serious cash. So when they finally pulled that thing out, dusted it off, and threw it on the auction block, it sold for $2.5 million. Yep, millions for a car that sat in some garage, probably with a broken lawnmower right next to it. One of those finds that make you wonder if reality as we know it has finally lost its marbles. How do people forget, for example, they own a Lamborghini Miara? Must be hilarious watching him deposit it into the bank. And there's the old barn. Break in, you'll never know, maybe the golden ticket's just hanging in the corner gathering dust. Seriously though, these cars were left to die, forgotten and abandoned. But what do you see here? Keep dreaming, keep hunting. For the love of all things great, don't let your next gold mine rust. Hit that subscribe button before your bank account regrets it, and see you all in the next video. Curious about Jeremy Dawson's incredible $200 million car collection? Dive into this video to uncover all the amazing details.